The old women in the village still talk about the day Onyeka cried like a child in the market square. Yes, Onyeka, the giant man nobody could stop. The man who once carried a full cow on his shoulders with one hand. The man who stole another man's wife in broad daylight. But the strange part, the person who finally defeated him was a skinny, quiet man nobody respected. And what Onyeka discovered after the fight changed the entire village forever. Long ago, in the village of Umudara, there lived a man named Onyeka. Onyeka was not just strong, he was terrifying. The man was huge like an iroko tree. His chest looked like a wall. His voice alone could make children run inside their houses. People feared him more than they feared thunder. If Onyeka entered your farm and liked your yams, he would carry them away. If he saw your goat, he could take it. If he wanted your land, he would stand in the middle of it and say, "This land belongs to me now." And nobody would argue because Onyeka enjoyed fighting. One day, a man refused to give Onyeka his bag of rice. Onyeka lifted the poor man together with the rice and threw both of them inside a muddy river. The villagers laughed nervously. Nobody wanted trouble. But Onyeka became worse. One evening, during a wedding celebration, Onyeka saw a beautiful woman dancing happily beside her husband. Her name was Ada. Onyeka drank palm wine, stood up, pointed at the woman, and said, "I like this wife. From today, she belongs to me." The music stopped. Even the flute player nearly swallowed his flute. Ada's husband fell to his knees and begged, but Onyeka slapped him into a pot of soup. The villagers watched in silence as Onyeka dragged the crying woman away. That night nobody slept well. Even the elders were afraid. The next morning, the oldest elder in the village gathered everybody under the nuku tree. "We cannot continue like this," he said quietly. "But who can stop him?" another elder asked. Silence. Then suddenly a small voice spoke from the back. "I can." Everybody turned. It was Ikenna. The villagers almost laughed. Ikenna was thin, very thin. If strong wind blew too hard, people believed Ikenna might disappear. Even Onyeka used to mock him. He called him dry stick. The women whispered among themselves, "How can this tiny man fight Onyeka?" But Ikenna remained calm. "I will defeat him," he said. The villagers shook their heads. Some even pitied him already. News reached Onyeka before sunset. The giant burst into loud laughter. "That mosquito wants to fight me?" He laughed so hard he nearly fell from his chair. The next morning, the whole village gathered in the market square. People climbed trees. Children sat on rooftops. Even nearby villages came to watch. Onyeka arrived first. Bare chest, huge muscles, heavy footsteps. Boom, boom, boom. The ground almost shook. Then Ikenna appeared. Simple wrapper, ordinary walking stick, no fear in his face. Onyeka laughed again. "If I blow air from my nose, you will fly away." The crowd laughed nervously, but Ikenna smiled. "Maybe," he said softly. The fight began. Onyeka rushed forward like an angry bull. The crowd screamed, but suddenly, whoosh, Ikenna moved aside. Onyeka missed and crashed into a wooden stall filled with tomatoes. Pam! Tomatoes exploded everywhere. The crowd gasped. Then some people started laughing. Red tomatoes covered Onyeka's face like makeup. Onyeka became furious. He charged again, but every time he attacked, Ikenna escaped calmly. Onyeka smashed baskets, broke stools, destroyed pepper soup pots. At one point, he accidentally sat on a woman selling roasted fish. The woman slapped him with the fish before running away. The villagers could not hold their laughter anymore. For the first time ever, people were laughing at Onyeka. The giant became mad with embarrassment. Sweat poured down his body. His breathing became heavy. Then Ikenna finally spoke. You are strong, he said, but strength without sense is foolishness. Onyeka roared and rushed one last time, but this time Ikenna planted his stick into the ground. Onyeka tripped, his giant body flew forward. Kapaa! His face landed directly inside fresh animal dung. The market square exploded with laughter. Some people rolled on the floor. Even the elders laughed until tears came out. Onyeka stood up slowly, dirty, humiliated, shaking with anger. Then suddenly he began to cry, real tears. The laughter slowly stopped. Nobody had ever seen Onyeka cry before. Then the giant spoke with a broken voice. My father treated me the same way. The crowd became silent. Onyeka looked down. When I was young, he beat everybody. He stole from people. He taught me that fear is power. His voice shook. I thought if people feared me, I would never become weak. The villagers stared at him quietly. Then Ikenna stepped closer. You became the thing that wounded you. Silence covered the market. Even birds stopped singing. Then Onyeka slowly removed the chain from his neck. Inside it was a small wooden symbol. An old woman suddenly screamed, That symbol! The elders stood up in shock. One elder began shaking. That is the mark of the lost royal family. The crowd gasped. Years ago, the prince of Umudara disappeared during a village attack. Nobody ever found him. The elder looked at Onyeka carefully. Then he whispered, Onyeka, you are the missing prince. The entire village froze. Onyeka himself looked confused. The cruel giant who terrorized the village was actually born to protect it. But before anybody could speak again, Onyeka suddenly fell to his knees. The years of anger, pain, loneliness all broke out at once. And for the first time in his life, the giant cried like a child. From that day, Onyeka changed. He returned stolen lands, returned money, returned goats, and after many years, the people slowly forgave him. But some villagers still say, if Ikenna had not embarrassed Onyeka that day, the village of Umudara would have destroyed itself with fear forever. 3 months after Onyeka changed, something strange began happening in Umudara village. At first, it was small things. A goat disappeared at night. Then bags of yams vanished from farms. Then one morning, an old widow woke up crying because all her money was gone. The villagers became afraid again. But this time, something was different. Nobody blamed Onyeka. In fact, Onyeka was the first person helping people search for the thief. The villagers were shocked. The same man who once stole from everybody was now carrying old women's firewood and helping farmers rebuild broken fences. Still, people whispered behind his back, maybe he is pretending. A leopard does not change its spots. Onyeka heard the words, but he said nothing. One evening, Onyeka sat alone near the river. Then Ikenna walked toward him quietly. You heard them? Ikenna asked. Onyeka nodded slowly. They still fear me. Ikenna sat beside him. Fear takes long to disappear. Onyeka looked into the dark water. I want to change. Ikenna smiled slightly. Then keep changing. But that same night, a loud scream suddenly echoed through the village. Thief! Thief! Villagers grabbed their torches and ran outside. A house was burning. Children cried. Women shouted. And standing near the burning hut was Onyeka. The villagers froze. Firelight danced across his giant body. An elder pointed with shaking hands. I knew it, another man shouted. He never changed. Within seconds, angry villagers surrounded Onyeka with sticks and cutlasses. Even people who once praised him now looked ready to attack him. But Onyeka did not fight back. Instead, he pointed toward the forest. The real thief escaped that way. Nobody listened. Then suddenly, a weak voice came from the burning house. My child, a woman screamed. My baby is inside. The crowd became silent. Flames covered the hut. The heat was terrible. Nobody moved. Nobody wanted to enter. Then Onyeka pushed through the crowd. Before anybody could stop him, he ran directly into the fire. The villagers gasped. Inside the burning hut, wood cracked loudly. Smoke filled the air. Seconds felt like hours. Then suddenly, boom! Part of the roof collapsed. Women screamed, Onyeka is dead. But then a giant shadow appeared through the flames. Onyeka walked out carrying the crying baby safely in his arms. The entire village went silent. His back was badly burned. Smoke covered his body, but the baby was alive. The mother fell to her knees crying. The villagers stared at Onyeka with shame. Then something strange happened. An old man suddenly shouted from the back, Look! Everybody turned near the forest path. A man was running away carrying stolen bags. It was the village blacksmith, the same man who always accused Onyeka the most. The villagers chased him immediately. When they caught him, the truth finally came out. The blacksmith had been stealing from the village for months, and every time he secretly blamed Onyeka because he knew nobody would doubt it. The crowd became angry. Some villagers wanted to beat him badly, but Onyeka stopped them. No, he said quietly. Everybody looked surprised. Even Ikenna stared at him. Onyeka looked at the trembling blacksmith. If pain could change me, maybe mercy can change him too. Silence. The villagers could hardly believe it. The giant bully who once terrorized everybody was now begging people to forgive another man. That night, the elders gathered again under the nuku tree, and before the whole village, they finally placed the royal staff into Onyeka's hands. The missing prince had returned, but Onyeka looked at the staff for a long moment, then slowly gave it back. The elders were shocked. I don't deserve to rule anybody, Onyeka said. The crowd became silent. Then he turned toward Ikenna. But he does. Everybody gasped. Ikenna nearly dropped his walking stick. Me? Onyeka nodded. You defeated me without hatred. This village needs wisdom more than strength. And that was how the skinny, quiet man nobody respected became the leader of Umudara. But wait, the strangest part came many years later after Onyeka died peacefully as an old man. The villagers opened a small wooden box he kept hidden under his bed. Inside was a letter written by Onyeka's father before he died, and the final line shocked the entire village. It said, Your real enemy was never the village. It was the anger I planted inside you. So tell me, do you think Onyeka became a better man because of Ikenna, or because he finally faced his past? And if the villagers had attacked Onyeka that night near the fire, would the truth have ever come out? If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more interesting African folktale stories on this channel.